News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukutali.
And a very good morning to you and a wonderful start to the week we hope and wish for you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dorset Street in Colombo. This morning we were going to discuss the state of the tea industry, especially the plantations, and how Sri Lanka could get ahead and get back its #1 ranking globally. Unfortunately, due to challenging traffic circumstances in Colombo, our guest is rather stuck some distance away. With much apologies on that. However, we are very fortunate that our guest this morning is able to talk on a rather delicate subject, the state of play of one of Sri Lanka's indigenous communities, the Malay people. And right here in the studio with us, straight after his appearance on Sirius TV on Pathikada with Bandra Sekar, is Mr. Tuan Azoor. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Faraz.
And how are you?
Getting on by God's grace.
Thank you. Now then, you are the president of the Conference of Sri Lankan Malays.
That's right.
COSLAM. Just about how, I mean, we have Malay, a lot of Malay things in our culture, in life in Sri Lanka, but just how many people of Malay background are there in Sri Lanka then?
According to a conservative estimate, we have about 80,000 people in Sri Lanka, all over Sri Lanka.
Okay. That's not I was hoping to have a higher figure.
No.
They're not much, doesn't sound big.
Yeah, it's not much, but then we are scattered all over the island.
Right.
But we have made a very significant impact on the life of Sri Lanka.
Right. And where would you say the biggest concentration is?
Actually, according to the census, the biggest concentration is in Colombo district.
Right.
But that can be correct. But then the next largest is in Hambantota district.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. There are places like the Hambantota town itself, and there is a village called Kirinda, then Badagiriya, and also Malay colony Ambalantota, which is called Bolana also, that place.
I see. Oh, I didn't realize that. We go up, down, and sideways there. Now then, you're also the former principal of Zaira College.
That's right.
And how is it, the education system?
At Zahira?
Well, not only at Zaira, but for those with a Islamic leaning or who are from an Islamic background. Does that matter, by the way, when you're at Zaira, for example?
Yes, definitely, because in Zahira, and I was there were about 4,000 students,
right.
And most of them were Muslims,
right.
And that is not because there was a policy of not admitting non-Muslims into the school.
Right.
No, certainly not. The others were not seeking admission to Zahira, and those few children who were there, say about 40 students were there, were somehow connected to the college. They were children of the teachers.
I see.
Or something.
Or they lived in the area, perhaps?
I lived in the area, and like that. But then, of the 4,000 students, 2,400 were in the Sinhala medium.
Right.
Mind you.
Right.
And the next largest medium was the English medium, and the Tamil medium was the smallest.
Right.
Because we found that the parents, Muslim parents in the city of Colombo, did not want their children to be educated in Tamil.
Right.
And we had difficulty in filling that. In the year 1, we always reserved 2 classes for Tamil medium. We found it the first class filled up quickly. We found it difficult to fill up the second class always.
I see.
Yes.
I see.
But we had to maintain that because we had to keep the card, because this is a government assisted private school.
Right.
Some of the teachers are paid by the government, so we had to maintain the card.
Right.
So, and then when you lose a class here, you lose the class at grade 11 also.
I see.
So we had to maintain that, and we used to keep that up.
I see.
As far as the Malays are concerned, Malays are people who always adapted according to the circumstances.
Right.
In the time when the British were here, they wanted everything to be done in English, and we learnt our English very well. Yeah. And so many people were very good in their English, and they held very important posts because of that.
We have 3 news readers here, or news presenters
Yes.
here and so on.
That's right.
Who are from that background, though I don't think the background mattered at all when it came to working.
Yes, that is true. And also when the government shifted to Sobhasha and it was necessary for us to learn Sinhalese, we studied Sinhalese as well. And the greatest thing is we learned how to pronounce Sinhalese well. We don't make this bad pronunciation.
Right.
Pronounce it well.
Right.
And there are some Malays who live in in Tamil majority areas. They know their Tamil well also.
So what would the Malay people of Sri Lanka, do they speak their own dialect of?
Yes, we have our own Malay also called the Sri Lankan Malay,
Right.
of which 70% of the words are from Bahasa Melayu.
So you'll be at home if you're traveling in Malaysia?
Yes, of course. When you see the boards and all that, we know all these things. But only thing is by the effluxion of time,
Yeah.
this grammar has changed.
Right.
So that they won't understand us and we don't understand them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you might when you meet a person, you ask "Apa khabar?" How are you?
Yeah.
And the answer we would give the answer is "Bye khabar." But the Malaysian or the Indonesian will say "Khabar bye."
Oh, I see.
So you see, the syntax changes.
Right.
So these small changes have come in, but basically it is the real Bahasa Melayu that has changed.
So how well is your representation, or has it been in, let's say, in politics? So urban councils, provincial councils, local government,
Yes.
parliament.
Yes. This from the very beginning, the leaders of this country have acknowledged the fact that the Malays are so widely dispersed that they are unable to get a person elected to parliament in the normal way.
Right.
So even in the time of the Legislative Council and also the State Council, special arrangements were made to appoint a Malay to these councils. Then in 1948 came the sole body constitution, and there was a provision for the Prime Minister to appoint 6 members of Parliament.
Right.
And throughout, most of the time, the Prime Minister used to appoint a Malay, so that the Malay, because the Malay couldn't get himself elected. But in the very first Parliament, first 1947 election, Dr. T.B. Jaya was able to win a seat for the first and the last time. A Malay could win a seat in the Colombo, anywhere. He became the second member for Colombo Central.
Some considerable interest of the subject that we are talking about. And as you know, we invite people to send us questions live straight through here by SMS, please, 0772 300 305. One of the first questions that came along is from a viewer asking us, where did the Malay people come from, first of all, to Sri Lanka? And when do you think that happened?
It has a long history. They have come in so many stages. Earliest was in the 12th century. There is mentioned in the Chula Vamsa, where there was a Malay king called Chandrabanu, who ruled the north of Ceylon at that time.
Right.
Chandrabanu, but he was a Buddhist.
Right.
At that time, Malays had not embraced Islam, and he ruled Jaffna for quite a period of time. But the latest people who are here, we are the people who were brought by the Dutch when they ruled Ceylon and Batavia, which is now called Java. They brought troops from Batavia to come to Ceylon.
I see.
Yes, and among also they banished.
So there's some sort of a military background.
Military background, certainly, very much military. And then among those people who were sent here were the people who were banished, people who rose in rebellion against the Dutch, the princes and kings also were sent here.
I see.
Among them there were some scholars also.
Right.
Then when the British took over the maritime provinces of Sri Lanka, they brought more troops, this time from Malaysia.
Right.
And these form the backbone of the distinct people, Malays who are here.
I see. And that's interesting what you say about the military background all those years back.
Yes.
Because somehow or other, it may be strange, it may not be, but there is a strong involvement of people from the Malay community in the army, the police, and also the fire brigade.
That's true. That's true.
Is this some sort of DNA following through? Is it a military background?
Really, it's very interesting because during the time of the British, they even have a Malay regiment.
Oh, I see.
Among the army, there was a Malay regiment, and at one time there were 1,200 troops in that.
I see.
When they disbanded it, at a very late stage they disbanded, and at the time of disbandment, they gave them the option of either going back to where they came from or to stay here. And I understand majority of them wanted to stay back.
I see.
And we are the descendants of these people.
I see.
So then they had the question arose, now what are they going to do? So since they were people with a military background, they chose to either go to the police or to the army, and that's how it came down.
I see. And we have several high-profile positions.
Yes.
And currently one person is very much in the news.
Yes.
DIG Emma Latif is very
Yes.
much in the news with his fight against the drug menace and so on.
Yeah, senior DIG's father was also a police officer in the police.
I see.
Yeah.
So there you are. Once again, this it's almost genetically present. This military or this law sort of background, legal background.
My grandfather was also a policeman. He was an inspector of police, and my father was a policeman.
But you broke the mold. I
broke the mold because I followed the tradition of Dr. T.B. Jaya. His father was also a policeman.
Right.
Yeah, Dr. T.B. Jaya was the view that we should educate ourselves more and go to other professions, and I became a lawyer.
Right.
So this feeling is there, and at one time almost 100% of this fire brigade comprised of Malays.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's absolutely amazing.
And in the army, we have got some very great people like Brigadier T.S.B. Saleh, who was the chief commander-in-chief at one time, the number 2 in the army. And at that time, the commander was a person who had a rank of Major General only. So he has acted for the Major General also at times. And now we have 2 Major Generals. We had Mr. MZR Saleh, and who retired recently, and we have
what was the name?
Mr. MZR Saleh.
Yes, Roshan Saleh.
Yeah, that's Roislan Saleh.
Right.
That's right.
He was in military intelligence.
That's right. Yes. And then we have a serving Major General called Bangsa Jaya.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Now then, you mentioned these names, and they are part and parcel of the fabric of Sri Lankan society. T.B. Jaya. There's a name from the past that makes your hairs stick up.
Yes.
Really. What was his contribution, would you say, his prime big time contribution of lasting value to Sri Lanka?
Oh, he made a very great contribution to the independence of Ceylon.
Right.
He was a teacher who became the principal of Zahira College for a long period of time, 27 years, within which he brought that school up to a very high level to be on par with Royal and St. Thomas's and the rest, all the good schools. And he also was in politics, and during the time of the State Council, there was a Dominion Act bill that was being debated. And in that he had made a speech for about 3 hours. Wherein he had said very clearly, because that was the time when the British were prevaricating whether to give independence or not. They were delaying, giving various lame excuses. One of the excuses were that that the Ceylonese were so divided according to ethnic lines that if we give you independence and go, there will be a bloodbath. And it was at that time that Dr. T.B. Jaya rose up and said, please don't worry about us. We consider the Sinhalese as our elder brothers. And we are confident that they will do justice to us. Please give us independence as early as possible. Then at a later stage, no less a person than SWRD Bandaranaike, speaking in Parliament, said this speech of Dr. T.B. Jaya was the thing that accelerated the granting of independence to Ceylon.
And another question coming in from a member of the public, our viewer, is this. Is there a difference, and if so, what is it, between Malaysian Malays and Indonesian Malays?
Yeah, basically there is no difference. Only thing, they belong to 2 different countries. There are small differences in the language, because they are basically of the same stock. Yes, Malaysians and Indonesian, and there are three sovereign countries in the world which are really Malay. That is Indonesia, which has a large population, Malaysia, and Brunei.
I see.
Yes. Brunei also has official language Malay, and there are altogether about 350 million Malays all over the world.
I see.
Yeah, there are large minorities in Singapore, in Thailand, in the Philippines, and Vietnam, and even in
where in Thailand do they have them?
southern Thailand,
Right.
Narathiwat,
Right.
and all those places. They are.
I see. And yes, there's several questions about whether there's a difference. Now then, Sri Lankans have embraced various aspects of Malay culture.
Yes.
And I think the most famous of that would be the food.
Yes.
The Malay food and so on. And what is, of all Malay food, maybe it's the nasi goreng that is most...
Yes, most familiar. Yes, and it is the Malay version of fried rice.
I see.
Nasi is rice,
Right.
goreng is fried.
Right.
Nasi goreng. Unfortunately, people don't pronounce it properly.
What about the pickles?
Yeah, Malay pickle also is something, this is a delicacy,
Yeah.
which is quite different from the other type of pickles that are being sold here.
Right.
And then we have Srikaya, which we all of us know as Watalapan.
Oh, I see.
Yes, which
is
is
that,
a-
so that's not any other community.
No,
it's Malay.
it cannot come from the Middle East because one of the main ingredients is the you get the milk
The coconut.
of the coconut milk, which is not available in the Middle East.
Oh, so this is anyway. This is not
Yes,
a Middle
yeah,
Eastern.
it is come from here,
Right.
and it is being made in various ways. But then the Malays have a distinct way of doing this,
Right.
and the introduction of babat or tripe into
Yeah.
this cuisine, and also how we make things like chuka and satay. These are all very special things.
Right.
And now it has become a fad that we have got Malay restaurants in different places.
Yeah.
In Colombo, you get so many
Yes,
places
yeah.
where Malay food is dished out.
And what about Malay Street then? Is that an accident of naming or?
No, Malay Street was made Malay Street because more lot of Malays were living there, and just next to that is Justice Akbar Mawat. Justice Amti Akbar was a Malay. He was one time Solicitor General of Ceylon, and he was the first King's Council, Muslim King's Council from Sri Lanka, and he was an outstanding person.
Now then, it's wonderful that the Malay community are very much integrated into the Sri Lankan society.
That's right.
And you're as one.
Yes.
And therefore, my question to you in that context is, how does citizen Tuan Azoor, how does citizen Azoor view the current economic climate here? How is it impacting on you as citizen Azoor, irrespective of your background?
Yeah, it is very sad because we are a country which has so much of resources, natural resources, human resources, and all that. Within we have since we attained independence, we have messed up our situation very badly. We could have been in a very much better situation if we had really arranged our things properly. And there was now all this waste, corruption, and things.
How do you view that? You know, I'm asking you this question, Mr. Azoor, because we are a few days before the fourth anniversary of the largest ever financial scam to be inflicted upon the people of this country since independence. That description is not mine. It is the description of the Attorney General's Department in terms of what is now widely known as the bond scam.
Yes.
Now, what is, when you sit there in your private home, in your domain, and you look at what's going on, you know, the people of this country voted for a group of people who promised good governance.
Yes, certainly.
They made us all believe
Yes.
that the previous lot had a growing authoritarianism in their governance, there was growing nepotism,
Yes.
And that the corruption at the time was endemic, and they promised, these new people promised good governance.
That's right.
And accountability and responsibility. And shockingly, within inside of 2 months, them coming in, or just, yeah, inside of 2 months, they robbed the central bank. How do you view this thing? When you read about it, when you hear about it on the radio and on television, what do you feel about it, Citizen Azoor?
I feel very badly let down. And also, this is a highly unnecessary thing, which they could have avoided at all and should have been avoided. And it has become so bad that even now, if another group of people also come and promise us things like these, we are little, you see, we are very careful about how we are going to, whether we are going to believe these people on these things. Whereas if you can let us down like this, with so much of good promises, and
will that impact on your decision making when it comes to an election?
Certainly, definitely. Oh, definitely, we have to now look at a people or group of people who can deliver the goods, who can work for Sri Lanka.
And thank you to the viewer who's pointing out that there is also a Malay community living in Puttalam. Thank you for that. We didn't mean to leave anyone out, except that, you know, but thank you for that statement. This is interesting. So, Citizen Azoor, what is Citizen Azoor thinking when it comes to the decision-making process of you casting your vote? I mean, there should be at least 2 elections this year.
Yes.
So it's election time. How are you making your decision?
And number one is we have to look into a very great shortcoming in our community, in that we have not been represented in Parliament for the last 25 years. We have launched a movement called the Bangun movement. Bangun in Malay means to wake up or rise up. And we are now in the process of organizing the Malays and organizing all our resources to get the Malays to vote in one way. And we are going to negotiate with the main candidates, presidential candidates, and ask them, we will give all the Malay votes to you if you can promise to send a Malay to Parliament at the next election.
You said Bandung?
Bangun.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that the same as we have the very famous Bandung conference?
No, Bandung is a place in Indonesia.
Right.
But this
is different.
This is a Bangun, this is a verb.
Right. Back to this business about Sri Lanka here and the impending another message here pointing out that Malay ladies are also well diversified in their jobs as indeed the Malay gentlemen are.
Yeah, certainly. We can not in any way put them into second place. Malay ladies have done a wonderful job.
Yeah. And
throughout they have been always supportive of all that we do in this respect.
Now then, the viewers are trying their best to send us so many questions this morning. But now then, so what would you say as Citizen Azoor would be your main items of consideration before you cast your next vote?
Number one is we should get back Sri Lanka, put Sri Lanka back in the correct path, in the path to progress, whereas in the shortest possible time, Sri Lanka can take its place in the Committee of Nations as a developing nation. Very fast.
What are the tickets, specific items that you are looking at and thinking, well, I don't like this, but I like that, and so on? What are the specific items?
There should be good governance in the correct sense of the word, not like what has been dished out to us. And there should not be nepotism, there should not be waste and corruption. And you see, daily we see...
How do you react to the latest information that they're doubling or increasing the postal allowance of members of parliament and provincial councillors?
No, that is disgraceful. They should never have done it. They should not do it because people are suffering today.
Do you as a citizen Azoor, citizen of Sri Lanka, do you view this as some form of a bribe because of impending elections? There's at least 2 coming up.
Certainly. These are all things that are done to keep them within the fold. Now they could not do other things, increase salaries and all, so they are going into this area.
And how do you view the attempt to make a national government on the basis of having a partnership with a single member party?
Oh, it is really immoral. And it's illegal also.
Well, it's morally illegal, probably,
Yes.
because the law says that the national government, as Mr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa pointed out, there will now become a need to go to the Supreme Court again to give us a viewpoint on what is a national government.
Yes, an interpretation of that particular section in the Constitution.
Indeed.
Yes.
So these are your main tickets of consideration as a citizen.
Yes.
Before you cast your next vote.
Yes, certainly.
One is good governance and corruption.
Yes.
And what are the other items that you're looking for? What is the commitment you're looking for before you place your next vote?
We would also look into the track record of the people who are coming forward now. What have they been doing in the past? In what way will they be able to change themselves, or will they will ever change?
Yes.
And what are their aims and objectives? Because some people are now well past their prime. It's time that they should retire.
Indeed.
And give way to young people. But unfortunately, some of the young people also acting in a very disgraceful manner. So we want some, complete change, and see that we get back to where we left off and go forward. And the time has come. Now the people in Sri Lanka, the voters also, are people who are very educated, and people who are now going to assert themselves very clearly. And Faraz, I am very sorry to say that, but I have got a feeling that some people are so disgruntled now that some may not go and vote at the next election, because we can't trust the politicians. If that happens, there's going to be a disaster.
Imran Khan said
Yeah.
that one of the reasons he thinks that, or he feels that people don't pay taxes but are generous in helping fellow citizens, like donating to his hospital projects and so on. The disparity was so great that people donated handsomely,
Yes.
but they didn't pay their taxes. And Imran Khan said just last week that it's because people don't trust government.
They have lost faith in them.
They've lost faith. Because how do you feel when you are facing increasing hardship,
Yes.
citizen Azoor, whilst you're facing increasing hardship, how do you feel when some politician or wannabe politician drives around in some huge vehicle with backup vehicles and flapping their hands around there and stopping traffic and so on? How do you feel like that? Do you get ticked off?
Oh yes, I certainly feel very bad. It's outrageous. One of the things that any leader should do is put a stop to this in the first place. I mean, if he's any leader worth his salt.
What do you look, the program's about to finish, what do you look for in leadership?
I first look for sincerity and genuineness, and ability to inspire people to do what is right. That should be there. And as long if you are not sincere and genuine, well, this is not for them.
Would you vote for somebody who goes, who makes appointments and so on, and taking the country forward based on meritocracy, or do you prefer somebody who would rather appoint his friends and people who help their political party?
So certainly not. The latter people should be chased out of the political scene altogether. The time has come when the people should assert themselves and see that the correct people are put in place, and the correct people must be put through a fine tooth comb and see whether they can deliver the goods.
And should it be based on meritocracy?
Definitely meritocracy.
And professionalism?
Yes, certainly.
And would you be telling your community, because obviously you are what we would call an influencer?
Yes, right.
And would you be taking that message to the people that you interact with and that you influence?
Of course, certainly. We are in the 21st century, and we have to be on par with all the other countries if we are going to be considered as a worthy set of people in the world.
And Citizen Azoor, last and final question. How committed are you to a one country, one nation?
I am fully committed to it. That is the only way we can go forward, and that's the only way we can survive.
Mr. Azoor, thank you ever so much for being on Newsline. It's been informative, and it's been refreshing.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, and thank you very much for having been here. And that's the way it was on Newsline this wonderful Monday morning. And we do hope that this week will be productive, that this week will be inspiring, and that this week you and I, we will all be even prouder than we were last week of being Sri Lankan on this wonderful, wonderful island nation of ours. Take care, have a great day ahead, and God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.